Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I am seriously so excited to dive into today's story with you. We're looking at a narrative that is heartwarming, honestly, pretty hilarious, and surprisingly deep. It's all about how one family's brand new, highly mischievous puppy accidentally turned into this unexpected masterclass in human psychology. It turns out the way we raise, train, and bond with our dogs actually holds a massive mirror up to our own human relationships. I mean, we're talking about our spouses, our kids, our friends, and yeah, even ourselves. So get ready because you're about to look at your dog and your loved ones in a totally new light.
So let's start with the big question. At the heart of this explainer, what can a mischievous little puppy actually teach us about our marriages, our families, and our friendships? Well, the author of our source material was asking themselves this exact same thing. You see, after tragically losing their beloved 20-year-old cat, this family of 6 decided to take a leap. They brought home this curly black furball of a puppy. And at first, they thought they'd really lucked out, you know? He was super quiet, very timid. But give it 3 months, he found his voice, he found his courage, and man, he found a serious knack for getting into trouble. And pretty quickly, this family realized they were in way over their heads.
The real breaking point, the literal catalyst for all the life lessons we're about to cover, went down in the kitchen. This wild puppy managed to snatch an entire fruitcake right off the counter, scarfing down who knows how many toxic currents. It was terrifying. Up until that moment, the family had been trying to get by on this endless stream of YouTube dog training videos, but obviously YouTube just wasn't cutting it anymore. They needed real, professional help to keep this dog safe. So they hired a trainer, and as you'll see, this trainer fundamentally completely changed not just how they talk to their dog, but how they interact with each other.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Boundaries and Trust, the absolute foundation of the pack.
Okay, so the trainer's very first lesson was that safety, security, and trust all start with incredibly clear boundaries. Let's rewind back to that fruitcake incident for a second. To avoid a massive emergency vet bill, the family actually had to induce vomiting using hydrogen peroxide. They poured this harsh liquid into his water bowl, and the sweet, trusting puppy walked right up and drank it. It worked, he was totally fine physically. But here's the truly heartbreaking part. The next time the author put a bowl of normal, fresh water down for him, he wouldn't drink it. He just looked at her, questioning it. His trust was broken. Rebuilding that trust took immense encouragement, praise, and just patience. And honestly, isn't that exactly how human trust works? It takes forever to build, seconds to shatter, and a massive amount of consistent effort to repair.
And that brings us to a really powerful quote from the author. Trust is instantly broken when our actions and our words are not consistent. Just think about that for a second. Think about how often in our human relationships we just promise something to get to the end of an uncomfortable conversation, right? Knowing full well we have absolutely no intention of actually following through. When our actions fall short of our promises, we're betraying trust. It's literally just like handing a puppy a bowl of medicine disguised as water.
Moving right along to Section 2, Communication, and specifically, speaking each other's language.
Here's the thing about dogs. They do not have hidden agendas, and they definitely don't expect us to be mind readers. When a dog needs to pee, they sniff frantically. When they want to play, they do that little play bow. When they're defending their den, they bark. They express their needs authentically and immediately. Humans, on the other hand, we hum, we haw, we resort to this exhausting passive-aggressive behavior. We honestly expect our partners to just magically read our minds, which sets them up for a guessing game they are never, ever gonna win. It's toxic. If we just expressed our needs as clearly as a dog does, we'd actually give our loved ones a real opportunity to make us happy.
But speaking clearly also means speaking in a language the other person, or animal, actually understands. The author shares this hilarious story about her trainer telling her to literally growl at her puppy during their walks, like actually growl. Whenever the pup would lock onto a squirrel or start misbehaving, she had to drop her ego right there on the sidewalk and let out this deep, guttural growl. And you know what? It completely worked. The puppy didn't understand the English word stop, but he 100% understood a mother dog's growl. It stopped him dead in his tracks.
This quirky little lesson profoundly shifted how the author viewed communication with her own husband. She realized that for years, whenever her husband would just completely ignore drama or walk away from conflict, she interpreted it as him just not caring or not wanting to defend her. But by investigating his language, so to speak, she realized his ultimate core value was simply keeping the peace. Stress and conflict just shut him down. Once she finally understood that this was just his way of operating, she stopped seeing it as a lack of love. Figuring out each other's core values is basically the human equivalent of learning to growl. It opens up this radically deeper connection.
All right, Section 3, Emotional Intelligence and the Sheer Power of Presence.
Dogs are absolute masters at handling distress.
And they manage to do it without saying a single word. Have you ever noticed that when a kid starts crying, the family dog is almost always the first responder on the scene? Dogs read our energetics. They pick up on our emotional frequencies. And the absolute best part is, when we're sad, they don't try to solve a single thing. They don't offer unhelpful advice. They don't tell us our feelings are irrational. They just absorb our distress by pressing their furry little bodies against us, holding a safe space until the emotion passes. They show us that sometimes the mere act of just being there, silently and lovingly, is everything.
So I really want to ask you directly, do you listen to understand or do you just listen to reply? Because dogs listen with their eyes, their ears, their little tilted heads, and their whole hearts, entirely focused on trying to make sense of our human gibberish. Humans, on the flip side, usually communicate just to be heard and validated ourselves. The next time a loved one comes to you in distress, maybe try being like the puppy. Hold your tongue, open your senses, be fully present, and literally just listen.
And part of that emotional intelligence definitely extends to self-care too. Dogs are wonderfully unapologetic about their own needs. If they don't get their daily walk or playtime, watch out, because all hell breaks loose. They get naughty because they desperately need an outlet for that energy. And they embrace pure, unadulterated joy without worrying for a second about anyone judging them. Humans, and the author specifically notes women here, often just ignore our own needs. We push through exhaustion until we essentially become the absolute worst versions of ourselves. Taking that walk, letting go of your endless to-do list, and fully embracing joy, that makes us infinitely better partners, parents, and friends.
And that brings us to our final section today, Section 4, the pack mentality, forgiveness and loyalty.
Think about it. What actually holds a family, or really any group of beings, together? Out in the wild, a pack survives because its members trust each other, they cooperate, and they put the pack's interests way above their own. Dogs are innately wired with this intense loyalty. They will literally put their own lives in danger to protect their owners. But us humans, we really struggle with this. We get divided in our beliefs. We so often prioritize our own individual growth and our fragile egos over the actual health and survival of the family unit. We kind of forget how to work together as a pack. Now, part of protecting the pack is learning how to repair it when things inevitably go wrong. And the author shares this deeply vulnerable story here. One day, the entire contents of her living room mantle came crashing down right onto her 7-year-old child. In a state of total panicked nervous system shock, she just exploded. As she puts it, all hell came out of my mouth and landed face first on my new puppy. The sweet little dog who had just been curling up for a nap shook like a leaf and hid in his bed, absolutely terrified, with his tail tucked right between his legs. The author was just consumed with guilt. But the vast difference in how our two species handle mistakes, it is staggering. The puppy kept his distance for about 24 hours, but once he was ready, he reconnected. He forgave her completely. It was literally as if nothing had ever happened. Dogs live entirely in the moment. They simply do not hold grudges. But humans, we harbor resentment like it's our job. We carry emotional wounds around for weeks, months, or even years. We lump a person's mistakes in with their whole personality and just label them as bad. Imagine the absolute gift we could give our spouses and our kids if we practiced this kind of immediate, dog-like forgiveness. Ultimately, it all boils down to this single, beautiful truth. Dogs do not ask us to change. They just love us for exactly who we are. They don't judge our motivations. They don't sit down at the table with some laundry list of expectations for us. We, on the other hand, are constantly trying to mold our partners, our kids, and our coworkers into something else. The author realized she never ever expected her dog to be anything other than a dog. What if we offered that exact same pure, unconditional acceptance to the actual humans in our lives?
Okay, let's do a super quick review of the communication toolkit we can take away from this explainer today to upgrade our daily human interactions. Number 1, express your needs authentically. No more passive aggression, no more expecting people to read your mind. Number 2, speak their language. Find out what their core values are, even if you literally have to learn to growl to get it right. Number 3, listen to understand, not just to validate your own voice. And number 4, practice true presence and quick forgiveness. Drop the grudges, guys, and just hold space for each other.
To wrap up this amazing narrative, the author leaves us with a profound realization. Owning a dog is not a partnership we step into lightly. Neither should love. Just think about the sheer volume of YouTube videos, professional trainers, endless patience, and pure sweat equity this family poured into making sure they had a healthy relationship with their dog. If we deliberately poured that exact same effort, care, and attention into strengthening our human bonds, our relationships would be completely transformed. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly provocative question to end today's explainer. If you treated the people in your life like members of your pack today, like with that level of intense loyalty, fast forgiveness, crystal clear communication, and total unconditional acceptance, what would change? Seriously, take a moment today to reflect on your own behaviors. Thank you so much for joining me for this one. Until next time, keep learning, keep explaining, and hey, maybe go take your pack out for a really good walk.